Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, with you tuning in on the radio dial here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM. We welcome you all back to our program, as well as tuning in through our online affiliates around the world, and our new friends joining us through iHeartRadio.com. We're glad that you all could be with us as well. Our next guests are part of a project that I think you guys are going to really enjoy hearing about, and at the end, we're going to tell you all how you can get your own copy of the book that I had a chance to read. The book is called VOICES from the Bayou. Baton Rouge students confront racism, police brutality, and a historic flood. And, you know, so many times we hear of things on the news and we just think about that as being a news story in another place. Where these individuals we're going to talk to today actually were able to not only live in the area where some of these events were taking place, but also to be able to feel what was taking place around them, and they were able to put that into words. We're excited to welcome to our program today Professor Clarence Nero, who's also the author of the book Cheeky, and also we have one of the contributors, Delisa, on with us as well. We'll talk to the two of them not only about this experience, their response to it, and what they hope you're able to know about the project. Clarence, Delisa, hello to you, and welcome to the program.
Hi,
hello,
thank you.
Thank you for inviting us, for having us.
Well, look, the pleasure's definitely all mine. We were just talking before the segment began, and I know you all have been doing a lot of these conversations, so we definitely appreciate you all taking it at the time. Clarence, let me start with you. I mean, I've had an opportunity to speak with you on the program before, but this project is definitely different than what a lot of people know you for writing. I mean, what has it been like for you to see the response to Voices from the Bayou and the way that the conversations are taking place around it?
Yeah, this is different. You know, this is me now bringing my students and the talent that I we have at Baton Rouge Community College in Baton Rouge, where I teach. So for me to be on the other side now as a teacher of writing and helping my students find their voice, it's been great. And what a great time for them to find their voice in a book like this, where they're actually talking about and addressing issues around racism and policing in our country and natural disasters. On this book, the students were opening up about their experiences with deep-rooted pain in Louisiana and talking about very sensitive issues that are going on in our country. As you know, Cyrus, all around the country, you turn on the news, I mean, there's always an incident from Charlottesville to Ferguson to Baltimore and Dallas, and now, you know, Baton Rouge last summer of 2016. But what was unique about Baton Rouge is that it's a pretty quiet town, laid-back football town known for LSU and Southern University. It's a college town, and we don't really have a lot of drama in Baton Rouge. But in that summer, we had a lot of things happen within one summer. We had Alton Sterling murdered, and then we had 3 police officers killed. This was in 2 weeks of each other. And then we had a natural flood that left a lot of people homeless 3 weeks later. So all of this was happening in our town, and when the semester started, my students were traumatized, obviously, by it. I have a diverse class of black, white, Muslim, and there was a lot of tension in the air. And I think we started conversations that led to narratives into this powerful book, Voices from the Bayou. So it's very different from what I've written, but not too far. I've always been a serious writer. Whatever I'm writing about, I'm always tackling issues, whether it be domestic violence, homophobia, in the church. I'm an issues type of writer. So for me, there's no more important issue than these issues right now that's taking place.
For sure. And, Delisa, I think that's a great segue to you. I mean, you bring up something, and when I read it in the book, I thought this is such a sobering thing to think about. When your city is known more for hashtags than for the music and all the vibrancy that so many people know it for. What was it like for you to reflect on, Delisa, to think of not only what had happened with the natural disaster that had occurred in Baton Rouge, but also, as Clarence just mentioned, what happened with Alton Sterling as well, and the hashtags that came from that?
Right. It was very just kind of shocking. I remember just turning on the news and just looking on social media. You know, social media just covers everything now.
Right.
And Alton Sterling, you know, some things were mentioned, but I realized that the flood was mentioned more. However, when the flood happened, we started getting more hashtags about Alton Sterling. By the time we went into protesting here and just trying to get our voice across as far as, you know, just the anger and the hurt towards him being killed, I realized that a lot of hashtags had been created around Baton Rouge that had not really been there before if it wasn't related to football, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that you said, Delisa, was speaking about Alton Sterling, and again, a lot of us, we saw what we did on the news, without really knowing a whole lot. But you said in your part of the book, he was robbed of the life he was supposed to live. Did that really kind of bring it home? Because I think for a lot of us, until these things literally are in our backyard, we don't think of it as something that can happen to us, for one. Did that kind of bring it home for you, what you've been hearing about in the news over the years?
It did, and that part really hit home for me because I just try to be a well-rounded person, so I try to look at the picture in different ways and put myself in different, people's shoes. And so what I wanted people to take from my narrative is to do exactly that, to put yourself in the shoes of those families who have lost, their loved ones, and just realize how that would feel and how detrimental that would be to your life if it was your loved one.
Right, for sure. And Clarence, there is a theme in this book that also, I think, and it's so, I tell people, being from Mississippi, people would think that I would have a certain idea or perception of what, life is like in the South. But I tell people I feel as though I was born at just the right time. I was born in 1975. Never had a situation where I had a confrontation with the police. Never had a pullover situation. Never even been called the N-word to my face. So that's another thing that's brought up in the book about how the N-word is still being used, as a way of being able to address people. Does it surprise you, Clarence, that in 2017 that we are having these kind of conversations?
I can't say that I'm surprised that in 2017 that we're having a conversation because over the President Obama's presidency, we saw a buildup of these incidents happening. I think what I'm more surprised at is when I read the narratives of the students, black, white, Muslim, and saw the level of racism they experienced. That was something that's different for me, too, growing up in the 70s. In New Orleans, I grew up in the all-black community in the hood. So I didn't have a lot of encounters with different races and diversity. So, for those who grew up in areas like Baton Rouge and surrounding areas close to Baton Rouge, they had experienced a lot of racism. And it wasn't indiscrimination. It was white, black, and Muslim, all talking about these different experiences. And I thought that was very shocking to me that they had, you had people who were disowned in their own family. A white girl who decided to date a black guy. Her grandfather was very racist and had passed that racism down to her mother. So when she decided to date a black guy, they disowned her, and she stood up to them. I was surprised that was happening. Those type of stories were still happening in present day. A white kid at a black school, he was in the minority, and he was being discriminated against, and a black guy who wrote the narrative about that experience, how he befriended the white guy, and kind of took him under his wings and told the kids at his school that bullying somebody because they are white. That was a different type of story that we don't hear about. But I was surprised, yes, at the level of racism and deep-rooted pain that the students were experiencing and had experienced in their lives growing up. Because I couldn't share in that type of experience, like you noted. You didn't have that experience, and I didn't have that experience. So I think for people who read the book Voices from the Bayou, they will be surprised at the level of things that people are still dealing with. But I think that's what's going to shock a lot of people. But what also is going to surprise them is that they came out of this experience with a lot of compassion and forgiveness and deep insight on what they feel needs to happen to change, even though they had gone through. Because you can go through something and you could come out of it mean and ugly and hateful. These students didn't come out of it that way, and I think that's what makes the narratives powerful.
Yeah. Delisa, is that also what you hope people realize, that even though, we all know what it's like to experience injustice in some form.
Right.
Do you hope that, just as Clarence was talking about, that is one of the big things people take away, that there is a collective we that is forming that crosses, ages, crosses, race, crosses gender, that says, we are going to stand together and not allow the hate to win?
Exactly, and that's what's so important about this book. You're literally talking about almost every different background, or at least, a select few of different cultures and races who are all coming together, sharing their stories in different, time frames and just different ways that it has happened to them. But at the end, everybody still has forgiveness in their heart. Everybody's still saying, hey, we just come together and we spread love, positivity. If we just want everybody to be created equal and treated equally, then we'll all come out okay.
For sure. I think that is one of the big things that we can take away from this. I want to say for those who are just tuning in on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome to our program today two very special guests that are part of a project that I know you guys are going to want to add to your reading list. We're excited to welcome Professor Clarence Nero, who's also the author of the book Cheeky. We'll remind you at the end how you can stay connected with him. And also Delisa Brown. She's one of the contributors of the book Voices from the Bayou. Baton Rouge students confront racism, police brutality, and a historic flood. A lot to deal with in this book for sure. I was talking to Delisa earlier, Clarence, about one thing that you decided to do, and that is when it came to approaching the semester with everything going on, and that is to turn to the Freedom Writers. And I was telling her I had a chance this year to talk to Aaron Gruel, so it's so funny that when I was reading it in the book, I was like, wow, what a small world. Because it is so interesting to see in that film and then to read her book how she was able to bring people together who thought they had nothing in common and to be able to find those common denominators. Talk to us about how that benefited you.
As well. I mean, coming into the semester, like I said, it was very tense. Students were, had just gone through all of the protesting. Some of them had been protesting. Some of them had seen the police killed, and everybody had an opinion and it felt very uncomfortable. So I knew that, and I said, we're going to watch this film, Freedom Writers, and I talked about the project Freedom Writers and how important the film was and how that film really stood out to me because of, the blatant racism that existed in the classroom where she was teaching and how by the end of that semester they had broken down those barriers. And it started with them reading a book about a Holocaust victim that was different from their experience but similar, and that how people around the world are dealing with some of the same issues that they were dealing with, and that they were not alone, that they were connected in a way. And I think that once my students realized that and telling their own stories, that even though they had grew up in different places, you went through that as well, or you're experiencing that as well, this is what you had to go through as well. And there was a sense of connection that they started to realize it didn't matter whether they were black, they were white. They started also realizing some of the things that they wanted in life. They wanted to live peace and with equal rights, with freedom. They wanted to raise their kids in a safe and comfortable environment. They just wanted to come to college and make something of themselves, and they all realized that they all wanted the same thing. So why is there so much hate? Why is there so much division? And I think that's how the film helped open our eyes, because they saw, wow, in California they went through similar things that we went through, that we're going through now. Right. And look how transformative how transformative it was for them to read a book and to have a teacher like Ms. Gruel, and that was inspirational for me, and I was happy to share with the students. And look what happened. Now they have their book. And I have shared it with the Freedom Writers, and they have gotten a copy of the book, and they have supported us and said that they thought it was a great project. And maybe in the future, there's been a conversation of them coming to our college to speak. So we're in conversation with them about what they're doing and how we're trying. Yeah, that's great. It's just, keeping this movement going. They it's happening all over the country. We thought when we saw it happening in California, those riots, we never imagined that these riots was going to be popping up in just about every state years later. Right. Who could have imagined that? And certainly we didn't imagine it would happen in Baton Rouge. But now that it has, we're speaking out. We're using our voice.
And using it constructively, too. And using it constructively, too. Sorry about that, Clarence. But, I think that's one of the big things. I think there is a danger, though, and Delisa, I'll pose this question to you because of something that you wrote in the book, because I think this is a point that we have to talk about. You write, I am restless with this inequality. I am restless with this injustice. My soul is hurting. My people are hurting. Well, then you ask the question, what is a life to you? How has what has happened in Baton Rouge, what has happened in the country, how has that not left you bitter toward all? Because I think so many times when we feel so connected to something, it's very easy for us to, unfortunately, to paint things with a broad brush. How have you not been able to do that in light of what's been happening around you?
I think just keeping in mind that we're all humans. everyone makes mistakes. A lot of these inequalities and its racism, it has something to do with how people are raised, what they were taught. And so just basically keeping the conversation open and giving everybody the benefit of the doubt to change. I don't really look at race. I think that we're all a part of the human race. Of course, there is some hurt behind some of the things that has happened. But just going back to my childhood and my grandmother and just how I was raised in my faith, I was always taught to forgive. And so therefore for me, I don't really have any hatred towards what's going on. It's just more so trying to promote change and trying to figure out a way to just create a different route of how things have been going. So it's not really, any hate behind it. It's all love still.
Yeah. Clarence, I want to talk to you about someone who's not here because his story was one that I think plays a big part in this conversation we're having, and that is Landon. He wrote the chapter, We Are More Alike, and he talked about a conversation about what if the races was reversed? What if it had been a black person who shot a white person, how it would be viewed. I thought that was an interesting conversation. What was it like for you to have that kind of dialogue taking place as this book was coming together?
I think that it allows black students, definitely, it allowed black students to understand the other side of, what white people are thinking, how they view things and how they see this issue. And sometimes when you're black, when you're African American and you are experiencing these things and you go through this and we know our history and how much pain it is, sometimes it's very important for us to hear the other side and how they're thinking, how other races feel about these issues. And, my white students, they were very nervous to talk openly about their experiences and how they were thinking and how people were viewed if they thought about it, how they would think about them even talking about this issue. This is very sensitive. So I think if it had been reversed, of course it would have gone down possibly differently. And a lot of people know that and we understand that. But for white people to actually speak out openly and talk about that in a classroom where it was predominantly African American, I thought the students handled it well. There was no fighting, no cussing, no bitterness. It was uncomfortable. And it was tense, but I think that at the end of the day, like I said, they realized that the only way we're going to move forward is to have these conversations and to speak up and talk about what we all are feeling and what we're thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
Delisa, I won't ask you to comment in particular to what Landon said, but there is one thing I want to share that he said and then kind of ask you a follow-up question. He wrote, people need to stop looking at skin color and start looking at who each person really and truly is. Is that something that you also hope that people will do, regardless of what race it is, and start looking at individuals as human beings, as you said earlier?
Right, exactly. I think that that's the overall goal, just moving forward. With this book and just general in life, if we start just looking at people's hearts, looking at their intentions, just weeding out, the ones who do have the bad intentions, and if they're part of one race, not targeting the whole race, because we see that a lot as well. Just as it was stated earlier that if a police officer shot someone and it was the wrong call and it had like some kind of, racial tensions, not just targeting the whole police department or every police that you see, you hate them because of what another police officer does. So I definitely agree with that statement.
Yeah. So, Clarence, now that you've been able to put this book out, now that you've been able to be a part of this conversation. As you said, the conversation is continuing. It doesn't just end here. And I think that's the other thing, right. And I thought about it, and I think, now that, and not to take anything away from anyone's story, but now that the Me Too story has kind of become the story of this year, is that really what your hope is, Clarence, that this is a conversation that does not end, that it is something that continues? Because unfortunately, there will be other times, unfortunately, that incidents like this happen, and we'll have to grapple with it. Do you hope that we keep the conversation going so that we will be prepared for that, so we can be able to confront it in the right way?
Yeah, and I think it was a better place to do it in the classrooms. We adopted the book at our college, and we recently came back from St. Louis where they had an incident breakout as well around police and a black man being shot in Missouri, where the NAACP issued a warning to African Americans traveling through Missouri. I don't know if you're aware of that, and here we have, so we went to a teachers convention to talk to teachers around the country that they need to be having these conversations in their classrooms, because a lot of young people are feeling this way like my students are feeling. They're feeling very tense, uncomfortable. They're seeing the news, and they have a voice. They have something that they want to say about these issues, and we need to listen to the young people and what they have to say, because it's going to take them to change what is happening. You know, they're during the 60s, and, you know, Martin Luther King and that generation fought against injustice, and now it's their time. It's our time. You know, it's all of our time. And we all could make a difference, and we all could speak out. You don't have to be Oprah or somebody big like Obama to make a difference. So you could do it right in your home, right in your community, like Kelly did with her grandfather, who was racist, and told her,
right.
You can't marry that black guy. No, stand up to your family members who are hateful, who say racist things, or friends around you. Everyone can make a difference if they just speak out and say enough is enough. You know, no, I won't tolerate that. And that's how we move forward, and we begin to change by us, all of us, being collectively participating in the conversation in a healthy, positive, and compassionate way.
For sure. And Delisa, I mean, I have to ask you this question, because I did not ask you before we went live here, and so I don't mean to put you on the spot. But before the incidents that happened, had you thought about writing before? Was writing something that you wanted to do, or was this just something that you felt compelled to do because of what was happening?
Oh, no, I'm actually, I was already actually an author before this book. It wasn't published, but I did write a book when I was on deployment one time serving in the military. So this was just, it was a different type of writing. It definitely was way off, path of what I was used to. However, when I did write about these issues, I found that I had a voice for this type of writing as well.
Yeah. So how does it feel for you to stay with these
Let me just say something. Yeah. They weren't all on board. I have to say, when I brought it to them, even they were she's supposed to create a writing club, which I'm the advisor, and some of them, I brought this idea to them, and they weren't all on board with it at first. They was like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about this. I don't know," And like I said, it was a journey for them. Once discovering that they had something to say, when they put pencil to paper, it was like something magical happened. Like it was a moment that needed to happen. And I think that's what they discovered, and they realized they had a voice and they had something to say, and it was waiting to be said.
Delisa, how does it feel to know that? Oh, I'm sorry, Clarence. I was just going to ask Delisa, how does it feel now having this book out there to know that you can inspire other people to share their own stories and to write their own stories as well?
Right. Honestly, it's kind of like an unexplainable feeling. It just makes me know that if I could do it and I don't put myself above anybody else, then I feel anybody can do it, regardless of your age or background. So I'm definitely excited about hopefully giving other people the opportunity to feel like they can be comfortable with using their voices in the right way.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing. And I love the way you phrase that, in the right way, because I think one of the things that's brought up in this book a lot is social media. Unfortunately, not everybody uses that platform in the right way.
Right.
And I think, just like in our speech, being able to use it in the right way. So congratulations to all of you for being able to do that and to not to allow the anger to drive it. I mean, Clarence, how difficult was that for you as the person kind of taking the lead in this, not to be led by the anger?
For me, I once again, like Delisa, come from a strong spiritual background with a praying grandmother, and they raising up and growing up and realizing that my faith and about forgiveness and not letting my experience, I've had my own personal tragedies, lost brothers to violence. I've never allowed those situations to change my heart and make me a cold and bitter person. It just motivated me more to do better, to make a difference. And I think that comes from having a strong foundation and strong faith that I bring to the classroom and to everywhere I'm at, where I'm speaking somewhere, whether it's in the classroom. I bring all of that with me, and that's how I'm able to stay grounded and not turn bitter. If you didn't have faith, if you don't have no faith or nothing that you believe in a higher power, it's easy to drown in your sorrows and not realize that and not be inspired. So I lean on my faith in God and believe that anything is possible. Even in the worst of circumstances, there's profound hope, and I've seen that. And growing up where I grew up in New Orleans, I've seen hope even in the worst of situations. And when you've seen that, and the fact that I came out of horrible situations and able to live a blessed life, I realized that anything is possible.
Yeah. So Delisa, last question to you. What is it that keeps you hopeful?
I just really just envision a day where all of these things that we've done, and just following in the footsteps of the people who came before us, that it will just create true change. So that's what keeps me going. That's what makes me, not think about any negative feedback from it, and just really moving forward with positivity and just trying to create true change, is that one day, these things that we're speaking on, they really will come to light.
Yeah, what a great thing. And what a great conversation with the two of you. Again, everyone, we've been speaking with Professor Clarence Nero, the author of the book Cheeky, and also Delisa Brown, one of the contributors for the book Voices from the Bayou. Baton Rouge students confront racism, police brutality, and a historic flood. The book is available through our friends at Amazon.com. You all can get it there, or by going to CyrusWebbStore.com. And you all have been able to keep people posted online. Clarence, let our audience know how they can kind of stay connected with the project online, if you don't mind.
Yeah, they can go to, we have a Facebook page and Twitter page and Instagram, Voices from the Bayou. Our website is voicesfromthebayou.com, where they can find out more information about places we've gone, where we're going next. We also have a video, like a little short mini documentary they can watch and view, and also purchase the book. So you'll see we ran across some great people at Essence Festival, like Gabriel Union and Jada Pinkett Smith and Tank, taking pictures with the students with the book and showing their support, and just regular fans and people just coming from different parts of the country, showing their support for the students and what they're doing. A lot of great positive feedback, and we thank you for the interview as well.
Yeah, the pleasure stepping on mine. Again, voicesfromthebayou.com. And Delisa, how can our audience stay connected with you?
I'm on Facebook. I have an artist page on Facebook. It's Delisa Treshelle, DelisaTreshelle, and that's also my name on Instagram, Delisa Treshelle.
Okay, so make sure you'll stay connected with the two of them. Again, Clarence and Delisa, thank you all so much for the time. Congratulations to you, and please give our best to all of those that are a part of this project, and looking forward to speaking with you again.
We sure will. Thank you so much, Simon.
Hey, you're more than welcome. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. If you all came in late and missed part of the conversation with Clarence and Delisa, don't worry. Thanks to our online friends, you all can catch the replay right after we go off the air. The link is already available through our social media site. So head over to Facebook.com/CyrusWebb or go to Twitter.com/CyrusWebb. If you click on the link there, you can listen to the show completely for free and share with your friends from there too. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Make sure you take out time to enjoy some good music as well as a great book. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live today. You all make it a great one.